Okay, hey, welcome everybody. It is 7 o'clock Wednesday night. Sci-Fi distilled. Welcome back, Mary Beth, of course, or should I
Hello.
say, Smurfette.
Smurfette. It's a
Smurfette.
cliche.
It's a cliche.
It's a
So,
cliche.
hey,
It's
look,
one of the
Dave's already
cliches.
here, and so is Bill. Thanks for joining us,
Hi
guys, and
guys.
everybody else who's online already. I always enjoy
It was
having people.
yeah, Dave. That's a cliche. That is
Glad
one of them.
somebody's
It
looking at us.
was.
Jeff, how you doing? So this week we kind of took a little idea we had. We're going to do kind of there's always the movie tropes and cliches, and we're going to apply those to
Yep.
science fiction films. I think you'll probably recognize, and of course, we want you guys to jump in with some examples as we bring these things up.
Absolutely.
But we have news to get to first.
We got a ton of news. Martin says hello from Smoky, New York. And hello, Christopher the Shadow is here. Yeah, guys, so we're doing those sci-fi cliches, those Hollywood tropes, those plot devices used over and over and over and over until you can predict what's going to happen next in the movie, which got me wondering, Sci-Fi Distill, Rizzo and I, do we have any cliche, anything that we do over and over that you're like, I know what they're gonna do? We? I don't know.
We go on tangents.
We do go on tangents.
Like that's our
We
cliche.
talk over each other a lot.
Well,
I always do this. I always go like this. You guys ever notice me do this? I always do that.
You're always messing with your drink, and I
No,
forgot.
I'm making sure
my drink. I forgot to get even water tonight.
Making sure the cap's screwed
I'm
on tight.
I'm hoping that I don't go dry here in the middle of this.
Because with my luck, I would do that. All right, the news. Strange New World is a week away. Akiva Goldsman said in a recent interview that he knows he needs to get them to a certain point. He didn't say, but I suspect that point would be the cage, right? I mean, that makes sense, I think. Having seen...
no, they've already... Oh, yes. Well...
They don't have the cage yet.
No, that already happened. That already happened. That already happened because they covered that in Discovery, remember?
Wait,
that's already happened to Pike.
We know how he gets in the wheelchair, but we haven't actually
No. They already had. He's already met because he went back He went back to... There's that whole episode where they started it and they showed you the original stuff. Then he went back to he went back to Talos 4.
Oh God, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and he saw Vina again and all that stuff.
That's right. Oh, you're right. Oh, I got a memory like a sieve.
Yep. So
yeah, all right. So maybe the point. So what point is he trying to get him to? Where he?
Oh, I think he did the explosion part.
Oh, the explosion. Okay, that's
gets disfigured.
Okay. Well, then we got a ways to go yet. So, guys, what are your predictions for Strange New World this season? Having seen the trailer, I think there's going to be more Gorn. The retcon Gorn. Okay, whatever. But I'm hoping the writers, you guys, you have Carol Kane. I'm asking you, I'm begging you, please, can we have a Taxi reference or a Scrooged reference, or maybe, do you think it'll work? It'll take a miracle. I'll take that.
They're not that clever.
Bye, boys. Have fun.
I just don't. Yeah, I love Carol Kane. Don't get me wrong. I love Carol Kane. But I really don't see her. I don't see how she fits.
She'll be great. Nope, she's gonna be great. We're gonna love her.
We'll see. I try to keep an open mind with all this stuff, but I have my reservations about.
But when you have an actor of that caliber and she has such a great body of work, you slip in some references.
Modern Trek does not have a good track record.
No, they don't.
So
moving on. For staying on Star Trek, though, however, for your consideration, the billboard is up in Tinseltown touting Star Trek Picard for an Emmy this year. I've noticed Trey Matalis and lots of other guys all tweeting. They've taken their own shots of the billboard and tweeting it. But more exciting is the number of critics and outlets that are saying, the show deserves some recognition and should get that best drama nod just for the sheer magnitude of what they've accomplished. Just so you guys remember, season 1 and 2 were nominated for 9 Emmy Awards together, and they only won one what did they win? They won for absolute candor makeup. The Next Generation, Star Trek The Next Generation, was only nominated for one single primetime Emmy, Best Drama in 1994. It did not win. It did get 57 Creative Arts nominations, so that, there's nothing to sneeze at. And it won 19 of them, so that's awesome. But that primetime Emmy, I would love to see this happen. To me, Next Gen is a juggernaut of science fiction television, and it deserves the recognition. These nominations will be announced July 12th. As of right now, even before the voting, Succession is predicted to take home the Best Drama Award. We'll find out when those nominations come out, and we'll find out when the show is who won. Moving on, man, what do you think? Do you think Picard should get that Best Drama?
Compared to what they have up against them, it's going to be a tough fight.
It will be a tough fight.
Because there's been a lot of good TV out there.
I mean, they would get the sentimental vote. It would literally be the sentimental vote.
I think things like Succession, they're up against, I'm sure, and regardless of what you guys think of the other shows, there's a lot of good stuff out there.
There is.
I don't know, did The Offer end up in that category?
I don't remember. The nominations have not been announced yet. However, the predictions are out. The predictions could be wrong.
I don't really give a crap about any of these award shows, quite frankly, because I think it's just all Hollywood patting each other on the back.
It is. So, there's no other
no other industry has this many
where
awards.
You work at the hospital. Do the doctors get together and all?
No.
Hey, that was a good surgery.
No. The most thing we have is like Nurses Week and like Laboratorians Week and stuff like that, and they give them free coffee and stuff like that.
Cool. But that's your Oscars or your Emmys.
Yeah, so that's it. They have little awards within their own thing, but it's certainly not. Nobody wants to watch a 3-hour show.
Yeah, all right, moving on. The Mandalorian star Pedro Pascal admits now he only does voice work for Mandalorian. All on-screen work is done by 3 or 4 stuntmen. So what are the stuntmen doing with the character that Pedro isn't besides stunts? Well, Katie Sackhoff has revealed there are outtakes of Mando kissing Bo-Katan. Not really, but he kind of kissed her through his helmet, and it was a joke. It was like it wasn't real. And it was on that boat. Do you guys remember there was a scene where they're on a boat and she went up the bow?
Yeah, that was one of the first times we saw Bo-Katan.
Well, yeah, one of the first times we saw her. She's like, I was up the bow kind of doing a Titanic thing, and he came up and kind of bopped me with the helmet. It was really cute. She now admits she does kind of ship the 2 characters, but doesn't think anything will happen with it. Moving on, the Black Mirror Sci-Fi anthology will be back June 15 for season 6, which means I better hurry up and catch up with seasons 1 through 5. Like
you haven't watched those, or you just only watched that one?
No, I watched a couple, but that one was my favorite, and I've watched that a couple times.
That one was kind of disturbing.
It was kind of disturbing.
I didn't really. I mean, it was cool that it was kind of a Star Trek.
What we're talking about is the USS Callister episode.
Callister, yeah. It was basically a guy that he invented it was like a virtual reality thing.
He had a virtual reality.
He would trap people in there.
Star Trek-esque. And he was trapping real people inside. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Moving on. Chris Hemsworth, Thor star Chris Hemsworth teases his role as Dementus in George Miller's Mad Max prequel, Furiosa. He will play the villainous Dementus in Mad Max Fury Road, Furiosa, a bearded biker warlock. How does Furiosa, why does that sound like one of the Harry Potter spells? Like Furiosa?
It does because it does sound like that.
All right. Do we need more Mad Max? Or maybe we do. I don't know.
Fury Road was okay. But really there hasn't been any really good ones since the second one.
Yeah. Stranger Things, kids. Stranger Things star Finn Wolfhard has teased what's to come in the show's 5th and final season, promising an insane amount of answers to the many mysteries that still need to be resolved. He says they're going to go back to the roots and what made the show so special in the first place. But he says at this point, he doesn't even know how the story will end because he's only received the first couple strips and then the writer's strike happened. So no release date has been set due to this writer's strike and no work.
This strike's really going to set things back.
I think it is too.
We're going to be a desert. We're going to be rewatching old stuff, I think, for a while.
That's fine. I have a lot of catching up to do, so it works out. But here's the thing. My next story, Hocus Pocus 3 is in development. They've officially announced Hocus Pocus 3. If there's a writer's strike going on, kids, why are you announcing the stuffs?
Because they know they'll get past this eventually.
I guess.
So it's not like the end of entertainment.
It won't be this Halloween, guys. It'll be 2 Halloweens down the road. Silo. Is anybody else watching Silo? It's on Apple TV, but I'm watching it on cheat sheet.
Oh, ConocoVision.
I'm watching it on ConocoVision. Silo creator Hugh Howey says that someday AI generated movies are not far off. In a recent interview for the Apple show Silo, Hugh Howey said we're about 10 years away from a full AI novel that is indistinguishable from a human written one. And he goes on to say, we are less than a year or two away from giving AI a film script and then watching it actually create the film, like do the film, which would make production costs go to zero. This is not good, kids, because if we do this, that means we lose a bunch of makeup artists, costumers, gaffers, cameramen, set construction, like all the people that work in Hollywood would
but that's and it won't happen overnight. And this is the scream of every industry. There's a lot less people shoeing horses now.
That's exactly what he said.
Because nobody, you know what I'm saying? So it's just it's the natural progression.
That's exactly what he said. He's like,
everybody's job eventually becomes obsolete.
We don't make buggies anymore.
Literally right now at the hospital, we have just started. They're testing them right now. Are these we have robots that deliver medication to around the hospital. We had people that did that, push the cart. Now there still are people that do that, but they're robots that can do it. They load them up at the pharmacy, and the thing cruises through the hospital, goes to wherever it needs to go. Nurse, it's all secure.
What if the patient refuses to take their meds?
No, it's not giving them. It's going to a nurse.
Oh,
but it's delivering it to the towers where the beds are from where the pharmacy are. They're not in the same place.
Well, that's just a conveyor belt. That's just a conveyor belt on wheels. I mean, that's
But there was somebody that physically used to walk that stuff across the building with a little cart.
Okay, that doesn't bother me. But like putting
but it's somebody's job.
Putting special effects people and VFX people and
I'm just saying it's not going to happen overnight, folks.
It's not going to happen overnight.
But I think eventually any job you will be replaced. Sorry.
What do you guys think?
So
all right. So
you'll go to an AI doctor, maybe not in our lifetime, but
yeah, I mean, we have tele-doctors now.
Right. Well, we already have doctors that are doing it over video, but I mean, eventually you'll go to it'll be like the droids in Star Wars where they're putting you in the back of the tank.
You're in the bed, just floating in the back of the tank.
So anyway, I'm not trying to be doom and gloom, but it doesn't. I'm like, it's not the end of the world.
Hello, Kent. Hello, Sue. Who else?
Just don't give them control of the nukes, because that's how you get Skynet.
Would you like to play a game?
If you want Skynet, that's how you
get. All right, guys. Well, Rizzo pulls up the tonight's drink for our cliches. You guys tell me, did we have this?
The most well-known cliche in Hollywood is the Wilhelm scream. So I thought this drink kind of
probably is the biggest cliche in Hollywood.
So we're going to talk about the Wilhelm scream. If you guys don't know what that is, this is kind of a weird drink. I'm not even going to go through the ingredients. If you want to see it, it's really bizarre stuff. So I just really picked it because of the name. So it's on the Facebook page if you care to try it. So we'll take that down. So anyway, moving on. Is that any more? We're done with news, right?
I'm done with the news.
So we're going to talk about cliches. So you kind of have a list, right?
I have a list of cliches. Where do you want me to start?
Let's just go through, and then you guys tell us give us some examples of films that you think, or that this applies to.
All right.
So
and again, these are Hollywood tropes or plot devices or any little detail. Could be a costume thing, could be anything that Hollywood tends to go to over and over and over again. And the first thing we're going to talk about is what is up with that rainy, dystopian, dirty, like futuristic but old future city. The old new ships, the new old ships. What's up with making the future look old as?
What do you mean, like a Blade Runner-esque?
Blade Runner-esque, but even Star Wars had that more than lived in, dirty, dusty.
Well, I mean, if you look at modern cities, they're kind of like that. We're used to it. They don't look futuristic because they're not futuristic to us.
When you get a sci-fi show that's all shiny.
But I mean, if you pulled somebody from like 1905 and brought them in modern New York City, it'd probably feel like we would feel in Blade Runner's universe.
Fair point. Fair point.
So I don't know, but I think it depends on the film. If the film has that gritty, dark overtone, the city is going to have that dark, gritty over. That's the trope, right?
We're just setting the theme. We're setting the mood for the movie.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. So most dystopian films, and if you look at Blade Runner is like dystopian and utopian all in the same. It's kind of like the Fifth Element. You have this like cool future with like modern conveniences but then it's kind of dark and gross, and it's not that happy a place. You know what I'm saying? It's not like utopian in the sense that everybody's happy and like Star Trek utopian. Everybody we don't need money. Everybody's taken care of. It's not like that. But there are some. But man isn't living in a cave either. We have much more higher advancements than we have today. But clearly, it also has taken its toll on the planet. In general, usually it's raining, always raining, like you said. It's always raining, dark, raining.
It's always dark. It's always nighttime, raining.
It's always nighttime.
Saying the old new wasn't a cliche until Star Wars did it. Had we not seen that before? What about Metropolis? No, I guess not. Maybe we hadn't.
But well, how many modern? Let's see. Then you get before Star Wars. Before Star Wars.
There was no sci-fi ever before Star Wars.
There weren't a lot of dystopian type films prior to Star Wars type, not Star Wars dystopian, but
but it was like there wasn't Kafka's Metamorphosis kind of stuff.
We kind of had Yet Silent Running. Yeah. Was kind of, but then we didn't see any cities, but we saw the ships, but we knew that the Earth wasn't in a great shape.
Logan's Run, was that before Star Wars?
Yes, that was
pretty clean. Inside their dome, things were clean and shiny until they left. Then things got messy.
Well, again, that was because we blew the Earth up, and that was people are living in the domes.
Even
that was again. There's where AI went awry. The AI decided to control the population because of limited resources. Nobody can live past 30. So we control the population. But what they didn't realize is the AI was controlling it. They could have let the people out of the city because the Earth had rebuilt itself, so to speak. It was safe to live outside the dome. But the AI kept the people in there.
All right. Yeah, that's true. All right. Let's move on to the next one. And this one I'm gonna defend a little bit. It has a subsection too. The humanoid alien. The alien is always has a head and arms, not always, but more often than not. And I'm going to defend it to say it's because we need to have a human actor. It's very rare. War of the Worlds, do you remember War of the Worlds? That saw a truly non-humanoid alien. But other than that,
we didn't really see it. We only saw like the foot at the end.
We saw like its foot or its eye or something.
Well, the whole thing was a spaceship. They were in there. We never really saw the aliens, but yeah, you're right.
And I'm going to put the little.
They clearly weren't humanoid.
Is their names all have to have like a bunch of consonants and an apostrophe? And Star Trek, I'm looking at you. You do this all the time. Everyone's name has an apostrophe.
And you know what? That's always a peeve of me reading any science fiction when they have to put it. It's like the author just took some alphabet soup.
It's always like K
flung it at the
apostrophe.
Wall, and that's we can't. You can't even pronounce the name.
LYX clicks. What is this person's?
At least that makes sense. But yeah, some of them are just literally impossible to pronounce. Like if you're reading it, you're like, I don't even know what that says.
And even when the aliens are humanoid, or humany, then you have something like our friend Lissa with like it's a human female but 3 breasts. Like you have that kind of stuff going on.
Right. So there were some good examples people brought up.
I'm looking at you. You did the worst aliens of all the sci-fi out there.
Well, they're always as we know, TNG was just a human with a ridge on their head. Somehow.
Human with a ridge, some appliance just attached to the head, the nose, the ears, something.
So I want to just acknowledge some of the stuff. So some of the dystopian stuff that people said we had said what was prior to Terminator. Well, that was really prior, but Planet of the Apes. Omega Man, Dave Fido said.
Those are good ones, Dave.
Yeah. So that was a couple. I'm trying to think of what else. Those are the 2 that struck out. Bill's the Time Machine. Well, yeah, we saw that in the future that things went awry. That's true. Jeff saying Babylon 5 is much better at names. I agree. Probably. Yeah.
And prosthetics. I at least had those.
Their aliens were more interesting, even though they're humanoid.
Yeah.
I mean, Star Trek's always kind of had that theory that all life in our galaxy, at least, was kind of spawned from the same stuff, so that's why everything's kind of humanoid. And there's theories that's since nature.
Yeah, there's a name. You know the name of that theory? It's
the
called
most
the panspermia theory.
okay.
No, I'm not kidding.
I believe you.
To the Google machine, panspermia. Yeah, guys. I mean, he's laughing at me. Kent just said it too. I get that actors have to act, but I would just, now that we have these awesome digital capabilities, I would really love to see an alien that don't look nothing like no human, like something really different. Are there any? Can you think of any? Well, you guys think of some. I'm going to move on to the next trope here. Artificial intelligence. Why is it always evil? Why? Why does it always turn on us and decide we don't deserve?
I think it's that kind of that lesson.
Ooh, Fez, species 8472. Good one, Fez.
We always put, you put faith in something.
Every planet has a Jeffrey.
I wonder if it's partly, the AI is that it's partly that absolute power corrupts absolutely theory, where because this thing is so smart and can think so fast, that it just naturally becomes.
But how come they're never just benevolent and take mercy on us stupid humans?
Well,
like they always decide we don't.
Bicentennial Man was benevolent, and he was AI essentially.
All right, yeah, that's true.
We've had some. You're right though. We end up with Skynet and
you want Skynet?
HAL 9000 and
HAL 9000.
HAL really wasn't inherently evil. He went crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, his logic wasn't flawed.
Because he was caught in that logic loop. So yeah, I don't know why again, it makes a good villain.
It makes a fantastic villain. Ken is saying that because the creators of AI, that would be us, are flawed, and then we project those failings onto our creation.
I don't know about you. I'm not flawed. So, you speak for yourself, Ken. I got all my toes.
Oh, bird. Oh, please.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
You went there.
Sorry, Kat. Love you, Kat. You know I do.
Moving on to the next. Okay, this one we have seen since Frankenstein, the hostile creator-creation relationship. What's up with that? We see it with the AI. This actually comes back up again with the AI, but sometimes robots and other things. It pops up. How come things turn on us? And my people putting me on. What is that from? Like, is that in Rocky Horror? Like Rocky Horror is trying to do whatever, and they all turn on me.
Well, because he became a megalomaniac.
Because he was a wicked megalomaniac. He was a megalomaniac. He was more than that. He was like a.
So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to think of a good example. Frankenstein, of course, is the classic.
Frankenstein's the classic.
It's that almost like a Pinocchio syndrome where,
this really overlaps with AI. So don't feel bad if you're coming up with AI examples.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff where
Kent burned your back. Sorry, man.
It's all right. Yeah, well, I don't know how much more he has.
Anyway, back to the creator-creation relationship. There's been some robots that have turned bad and stuff like that. Westworld, Martin, great example.
Westworld, certainly the original and the remake would definitely fall under that. I mean, we had Saturn V, which is another one where the guy built the robot and the robot kind of went nuts and kills everybody. They always seem Sci-Fi. They always seem to be robots, androids.
A lot of robots and androids, because we aren't. Although Splice, do you guys remember the movie Splice?
It sounds familiar.
It was. I don't remember the guy in it. Long face. He played in the other M. Night Ramalama Ding Dong, The Village show. They create this thing. They have alien DNA and human DNA, and they splice it together. And anyway,
yeah. So Jeff's saying Forbidden Planet is kind of it could be it's a good point. I mean, he created the monster. It's his own id, as it were, the subconscious that created it.
Remind me.
And Evil Seed, yeah, that was there's a Martin. There's a throwback. That was a weird movie. Where the guy,
Species, yeah.
There basically was a super AI computer that wanted to breed.
Martin was Species Natasha, what's her bucket, and she was like half alien running around.
That's the one where
Splice and Species.
That was where we took. Well, scientists took alien DNA and spliced it with human DNA, created what looked like a normal human woman, but she wasn't.
Yeah. Okay. Splice and Species have the same plot line. They took alien DNA, human DNA, made what looked like. Well, Splice did not look like a human. She looked cute, like a cute alien at first, and then she got real ugly.
And you got ugly. That's just like you remember from Galaxy Quest?
Do you ever watch the show?
But suddenly they're gonna get teeth and they're gonna eat meat.
And they're gonna eat Guy. You know what? Galaxy Quest does a couple of these things.
Galaxy Quest is all of
brilliantly. What was the other
one? Galaxy Quest takes all of the sci-fi tropes and jams them into
really
like one
does.
movie.
I had a really good
Galaxy. I mean, the whole you have the you got your shirt off, that whole thing with it. There's the why is this here? The chompers and the flame.
Yep.
The thing ending always, the exploding always stops at one. That's a classic.
That's a classic one.
Anytime there's going to be an explosion,
it stops at one.
We either going to cut the red or the blue wire, or I think nowadays it's more of like you say, it's a software breaking. You have to get the crack the encryption prior to so.
The other one, I just want to mention real quick before I move on back to my list, because I don't know if we're going to get to it. You were like, why are the women always running in high heels? The women running in high heels. Does anybody else remember X-Files, like making a point of this? Do you guys remember the episode of X-Files with Téa Leoni in it? And she says to Gillian Anderson, how do you run in those heels? And then you cut to David Duchovny and I'm not sure who are having a conversation, like the serious conversation in the foreground. And in the background, you see Téa Leoni sitting there and Gillian Anderson running in the high heels. And then there's like,
I don't know how you women walk in them, let alone be able to run in them. So.
Did you, on that show we watched, did you watch Bryce Dallas? I'm like running from the dinosaur and she's running full tilt in heels. And I'm like, what shoes are those? Like, what brand? I must know what brand.
They were put in CGI. She was really wearing tennis shoes.
All right, back to my list. Sorry, I didn't mean to wander off there. Back to the list.
Well, again, there's the other trope again in that same vein is you have the evil boogeyman guy going to attack the heroine in the house, and instead of just running out the front door and getting the hell out of the house, they go upstairs or hides in a bathroom or
which brings us, I'll go off.
And the car never starts.
The car never. Yeah, technology fails. The technology will fail.
Always.
Anything that you have, you're like, I got this MacGuffin here, and it's going to do X, Y, Z when we need it to. No, it ain't. It won't.
Yeah, if the plot relies on, as you put it, the MacGuffin to get them out of a situation, something will either fail. Either the technology will fail, or the person operating it will have an issue with it in some way. So it won't work the way it's supposed to be. Always. So
the other thing is, because you just said about the girl running and running away from the bad guy, and more often that, like in horror movies, there's the jump scare and there's the mirror scare. Those are used and used and used.
And now then there's the flip to that, where because it was used so much, the audience are expecting the mirror scare or and it turns out to be nothing.
Yeah.
They close the mirror and there's nobody there where you're expecting the boogeyman to be behind.
Or if they don't close the mirror, it's the mirror wipe, like the wipe.
Yeah,
you just got to shower and I'm gonna wipe
the condensation off the mirror. So you have this. So but now it's the opposite, is to make you think that scare's coming, and it doesn't come.
Yeah.
It never actually happens, or it turns out to be a cat jumps out.
Yeah, exactly.
Cats are just generally evil.
I've had cats.
Cats,
I
cats
remember a lot of them like hiding in the closet to
think
jump
about it.
at
They put
me.
cats and stuff. Cats will sit there and watch humans be murdered and not give a crap.
Yeah, cats don't care. They
The
really
dogs
don't.
will try to help you. The cat will just sit there and watch.
If someone broke in my house, my dog at least would bark about it or something. But
Remember
a cat would be
Jonesy
like,
from Alien?
no.
Jonesy's sitting there in the corner while the alien's ripping the guy's head off, and he's just looking at him. Don't rip
It
my
had a
head
good
off. I
hiding
don't care what
spot.
you
It
do.
wasn't
Just leave
gonna
me
get
alone.
out.
I'm telling you, cats are evil.
All right, back to my list. All right, the psychic and or mutant powers that usually suddenly develop around adolescence. Sometimes in childhood, but usually,
usually, like I said, the one I can think of that doesn't fit that was Firestarter.
Firestarter is a good counterexample, yeah,
because she was definitely prepubescent. But you're right; they usually use puberty as a catalyst.
I feel like a lot of these movies.
I mean, Star Trek used to use that a lot too. I mean, we saw actually a lot of science fiction shows would use that as
a lot.
But Star Trek, we had remember the kids didn't get sick until they hit puberty. They were living very long.
That's right. That's right.
We saw that. I think even in I want to say Next Gen had something similar. Where these things don't manifest themselves until they become quote unquote adult age. And so it's been used everywhere, not just
death.
Yeah. Well, like you said, there's only so many stories that they can come up with. There's nothing new, folks. Everything is just a rehash of something that's been done before.
That's true. There are only supposedly 6 or 7 different story structures, like man versus nature, man versus man. I don't know that. But the point is, there's only so many different ways you can structure a story, and eventually, you're gonna hit some walls. But could we lay off? Could we just have the powers from childhood, or can they come out at like 32? That would be fun. I mean,
well, there was what the heck was it, a Buck Rogers episode where the actual they go in reverse, like they start out older and then they get, I think it was a Buck Rogers episode, which isn't really good science fiction.
Oh, you mean like a Benjamin Button?
Kind of like a Benjamin Button, where their species goes. They start out fully grown and they get younger, and that's where they get more wise. So the children are the smart ones, and what appear to be the adults are the children mentally.
Yeah, interesting.
So that's another, kind of reversal of,
interesting. So, Sue was just saying Signs. M. Night Shyamalan's Signs is a masterclass. Yeah, I really love. I'm a sucker for alien movies, but I love Signs, and I don't like Mel Gibson, but he did something in that movie. There's a shot, he's comforting his daughter in her bedroom, and he's hugging her, but he's looking past her out the window, and he's seeing something on the barn roof out the window, and you watch his face just change from like, there to horror. Like, what the F is on my roof? And just the way he did that, I was like, that's cool. I still don't like him though.
Well, there's a lot of reasons not to like him.
Yeah. Moving on. Okay, I'm gonna lump these all together because this is how it always goes. It's either the one-man army saves the day, or the ragtag motley crew of put together team save the day.
But right, and we see that we have the Guardians of the Galaxy. Or we have the
assembled,
the Rambo / Arnold Schwarzenegger Predator type thing, where it's the one-man army. And actually, it was really the 80s
series built on that.
The one-man army thing really started kind of with Stallone and Schwarzenegger, because they became these. They weren't just leading men that were the action hero. They were like literally the one-man army. They didn't even look human.
Rambo was a one-man army.
Right. They didn't even look human because they were very buff and cut. And like Rambo had the M60 shooting with one hand, which is literally impossible. But, and then you had Schwarzenegger. And of course, you had his one lines,
Yeah.
Consider that a divorce, that kind
of. He's chomping on the cigar in Predator.
Yeah. And Predator. Yeah. So, he was, those two guys really kind of set the tone for that almost superhuman yet human.
And then here comes Bruce Willis. And in the first Die Hard, he took it down a notch, and he was more everyman, a little more relatable.
Right. So you got to the later ones.
As Die Hard movies went on, he became more and more and more the one-man army.
Yeah. Martin, the Lone Ranger certainly was the lone action hero, but I wouldn't call him the one-man army in the sense that like you had with Stallone, or where they were just literally laying waste to multiple, literally armies of people, that this one guy is just going and like cleaning house. You just didn't see that, before much. You could go all the way back to, I'm trying to think of the movie. I'm drawing a blank. I could picture the guy in my head, but
that's right. Fez is reminding me, Luke and the Rebels, like Luke and the whole team, they were the ragtag rebels.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
In 1977, they absolutely were the ragtag.
Yeah, and we talked about Star Wars is a very clean cut plot. There really wasn't a lot of gray area. It was good against evil.
Yeah, it's good against evil. Yeah.
That's their whole thing. There was no nuances. We're starting to see Star Wars branch out with things like with what's the one we always call the adult? I'm terrible today. My brain is just fried.
Andor.
Yeah. I mean, we're seeing
their plot a little bit.
We're starting to see a little bit more, of conflict within on both sides. That the rebels do things that aren't so great, aren't pure white, so to speak, to get to their goals. But prior to that, it was very clear cut, and they always put, and the juxtaposition that you had the bad guys in white, with the exception of their leader in black.
Yeah.
And then the good guy, Luke, in his black.
In the white stormtrooper. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we kind of had that juxtaposition.
But it was still, but the whole thing, then this is kind of a separate conversation. But Lucas does things with color palettes. Like Tatooine was all tan and brown. And then once you got up onto the Death Star, it was all gray and black and white. So he was doing like this whole color palette thing.
Yeah. Well, that made sense. That was kind of a thing. Martin saying Blake 7. Yep, that's another good example of the ragtag group put together. Usually they're always thrown together at the last minute, or they're, again, like Farscape's another good example where you have all these people that were thrown together against their will, essentially, or didn't choose to be there, but eventually had to come together for a common goal, in their case, survival and staying ahead of the baddies. But yeah, you'll have, again, Guardians is good, like I said, is a good example. Even one could say the Avengers is kind of a ragtag group, even though they're all superheroes. They were kind of all brought together, and not all willingly, in a lot of, you know what I'm saying? They were kind of dragged. Some of them were dragged. True. I don't think, Tony Stark was never really thrilled with it. Certainly,
they weren't super ragtag. They had their own things going on, but yes,
I mean, they weren't all like super willing to. There was still some dysfunctionality within their group. They weren't the Justice League that we saw as a kid on Saturday morning, where they're all like, we're here to help and we want to be here.
And we want to be here. Firefly. Yeah.
Firefly is another good example. Of course, to me, that's one of the best science fiction shows ever.
All right, next one. It's all a simulation or a dream. That comes up sometimes too. None of this is real. It's all an illusion. Star Trek used this a couple times, where the alien captured them and made them think that they were still on this.
And then the whole holodeck episodes. Which really weren't. I mean, they knew they were in a holodeck, but
Inception took this to the nth degree.
Inception, it makes your brain hurt.
Inception makes your brain hurt. Is it a dream? Is it not a dream? Was he?
Well, you're like, it was a dream within a dream within a dream. You're like, okay. We kind of saw that too a little bit in if you watched, well, not a lot. We did see it for sure. What was the series that Disney did for the alternate Avenger stuff? That was the animated one. What was it called? Where they had the alternate stories where like.
Oh, yes. What if?
And there was the one, the What If. It was called What If. And then they did the one with Doctor Strange where he had all these alternate. He kept going through because he kept trying to.
But she died. She had to die.
And no matter what happened, she always died, and then he ended up becoming this huge evil thing to try to.
It's all simulation. Not
real. And of course, nothing did it better than the Matrix.
Sixth Sense,
of course,
Martin, wasn't on a simulation, but there was a character.
That was misdirection. Sixth Sense.
Bit of a misdirection.
It's funny because if you listen to the director there, and what's his name?
M. Night.
M. Night that did it, and they really couldn't believe that people were missing all the cues in that film that they were giving that Bruce Willis was dead. Whenever Bruce Willis was around, it was cold. There was red somewhere in the screen. Nobody ever addressed him directly. All these little clues.
I don't remember like hyper analyzing movies for details like I do now. Maybe I didn't start until about.
I think they were amazed. They were amazed how many people were shocked at the end. I kind of joked at the beginning of the movie when he gets shot. Oh, so he's dead through the whole movie.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, I was right.
No, I had it spoiled, and I still enjoyed that movie. Like, it is still absolutely worth it.
Well, the funniest story about this sidebar. Hello, tangent time. My brother-in-law, who he's an optometrist, so he's a smart guy.
Yeah.
He would always watch movies in chunks, kind of like I do now. He'd sit down any time, he'd watch something, and he watched that movie, but he never watched it to the end. Like, he always saw. So we were talking to him. He's like, "Yeah, it was a good movie." He's like, and we were saying, that's the joke about him being dead. He's like, he was dead.
I
like, yeah, the whole thing was he was
Did
dead.
You not notice it?
So he's like, "Oh, I didn't know because he never saw the very end." Thought it was funny. So we always give a crap about that.
All right, next meme. The shadowy government official who this was more of an X-Files thing, but it comes up in other places. The guy in shadows who comes out to he might be helping, we might not. No one knows what's really going on.
The best line the Smoking Man ever gave is, "As long as I live, the Buffalo Bills will never win the Super Bowl." They never have, so he must be still alive.
I'm like mentally thinking, like, have they?
That was the best. I lost it because he never explains why.
No, but there was another shadowy figure. There were a couple of shadowy government figures that Fox interacted with. He put the X on his window. Do you remember he put the X on the window? And someone would come, and there's always like a manila envelope full of papers, and Fox would be.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's always that shadow government type. That's certainly a
whole shadow government.
Government, which it's scary because people are starting to actually believe that it exists now. Like there's some kind of Illuminati or something controlling the world. Everything.
Which I guess kind of leads us to our next cliche. Our next cliche is the reveal at the end of the movie where someone like up in the government like either rips his face off and he's an alien or otherwise is revealed to be one of them, one of the baddies. And it leaves it hanging on a, dun, 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 that kind of thing. That's our next cliche. Try to think of any.
Well, let's see. Does anybody else have any examples of that?
And while you're thinking about it, I mean, that one, it's done a bunch, but it's usually done as a season cliffhanger, not necessarily. Although sometimes a movie cliffhanger, and then there's another movie.
Well, they do. They tend not to leave.
V. Oh, Martin. Yeah. Well, there was a lot of face ripping off in V in general.
Yeah. That was just really. It's almost a Scooby-Doo ending.
A little bit, yeah.
It's really Old Man Smithers from the. It's not a ghost. It's Old Man.
All right, let me get back to my
But they kind of in V though, didn't they? They kind of alluded to it through the series that that was going on. Like, didn't they show them eating like
not for a while? Not at first. Not at first. When the original V and I think the reboot with Marina Baccarin, they were the friendly alien, the friendly human aliens who were going to help us and give us technology and medicine and all this stuff, and the humans were going to love them. And then once we were lulled into complacency, then they started dropping the hints.
Christopher Roche has a good example. To Serve Man, the Twilight Zone.
To Serve Man, yeah.
To Serve Man, yeah, that was a good one.
And then that was another one where Mark Singer played the one-man army. Not really. There were others. There's the Ragtag
Rebels. That was
rebels.
more of the Ragtag. That was again another
the Ragtag Rebels, and they were all fighting against the aliens. That was we need to do V on this show. It was such a good show.
I'll tell you. I never watched the reboot.
I did.
I'd have to watch the original again, I think, to really.
I think you can. I think there was like a made for TV. It was like a series, but there's also a made for TV movie. Maybe we could just look at the movie. I'm gonna have to Google that. I'm not sure. But anyway. Yeah. To Serve Man. Yeah.
The uniforms from the original were so 80s. It was like a Michael Jackson. It was like the Michael Jackson.
Black. And
Like
Jane Badler. Do you guys remember Jane Badler? She played
the
Diana.
big hair. It was big hair 80s. It was
Like the
80s. Everybody had the big hair.
Head evil alien, and she had big hair. And then I found a gif of it. There one night for some thing they were doing on the show, they sprayed her hair with glitter hairspray, and so the hair was glittering. And I was in love with it. I wanted glitter hair so bad.
Everybody, big hair. That's a cliche for the 80s.
Yeah, that's an 80s cliche.
That's an 80s cliche. Big
All
hair.
right, back
big,
to my
big
list.
Air brake on top of their head.
We did the shadowy government official, and with him is the eccentric scientist, the weird, kind of nerdy, quirky, weird guy.
Yeah, now
has no social skills whatsoever, but who will save the day with his knowledge and information.
Well, Fringe, I think, was a great example of that.
Brent Spiner in Independence Day.
Independence Day. He didn't save anything though. He ended up.
No, you're right. But this one was like the nerdy scientist.
Yeah, but like like I said, like if you're looking at TV, like I said, Fringe, that the guy that was, he really wasn't necessarily saving the day.
What was the show where?
In Independence Day, it was really Jeff Goldblum's character who came up with the.
You know what? Jeff Goldblum almost fits it better.
Yeah, he's the one he's the geeky guy that comes up with the computer virus. That the only thing I always thought about Independence Day, because they're like, oh, okay, so our computers are compatible with their alien computers.
Oh,
this happened in like. All they had to do to fix that. All they had to do to fix that was mention that our computers were based on their computers.
A human virus.
They had the ship. They had one of their ships, so
his laptop would interface with that alien technology. No problem.
They had the perfect excuse. They had the ship since the 50s. So they could reverse engineer computers. So our computers were very similar to their computers.
Oh,
you see what I'm saying? Because they had the chip the whole time. All they had to do was mention that, and it would have made sense.
Yeah, you know what? Because this whole time I've been like, "That's stupid." His laptop never would have worked with the alien.
Right, but see, that's all they had to say. Somebody should have just said, "Well, why would their computers be?" And it was like, "Well, our computers are all been based on their stuff for years because we reverse it."
They only need one line. They could have dropped one line.
All
right.
Would you say he is the similar? Well, he's Jurassic Park. Jeff
Goldblum just plays Jeff Goldblum.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying he kind of plays that nerdy guy that was right all along.
You know why? It's his line delivery.
Nature finds a way.
Jeff has
breaks out.
Yeah, and he's a lot of. Jeff has a very specific way of line delivery where no matter what he's in, you don't think he's saying lines. You think he's literally just like you making stuff like he's just saying words.
No matter what, you're right. No matter what movie he's in,
he sounds like he's making up his own lines. Everyone else is on script, but Jeff just says what he wants.
He has no range.
Yeah.
He's just him. He plays every character.
And yet you love him. Like although he was okay in The Fly. Like he was a little different in The Fly. And yet you love Jeff. Like when Jeff's on screen,
he's been great since he did the what was the one?
Remember Buckaroo Banzai?
Buckaroo Banzai, but even he did like what was the one?
The Fly. He was in The Fly.
He
was in Earth Girls Are Easy. Do you remember that?
Earth Girls Are Easy.
When he was married.
I was thinking of The Big Chill.
Oh, The Big
which
Chill.
is not obviously science fiction at all, but again, he was very good in that one. He was very young in that one as well. But yeah, I mean, Jeff's the staple. Of course, I loved him in Thor Ragnarok. He again played that goofball kind of, But again, same thing. So.
Same stuff. All right, I'm going to move on to these are general Hollywood, but how do they do it in sci-fi? I'm not going to make you the Maverick. There's always the Maverick, like the Maverick cop. Will Smith plays a Maverick cop in lots of things, like Men in Black, Robot. They always like the Maverick.
Even in Independence Day, he wasn't a cop. But
even Bruce Willis was kind of a Maverick in Die Hard. Like he wasn't really listening. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't.
Well, no. A normal person would have kept their head down and got out of the building some way. And
you would think. Chris says Outland. Who
Sean Connery, that's definitely, absolutely, yeah, because that was the whole plot of that was
in regular Hollywood guys. This Maverick cop always ends up getting in trouble and has to turn in his badge and his gun. I don't really know what the sci-fi equivalent of that is, but yeah, the one cop who's just
Outland is another good example of that. Although he didn't give it, he did at the end, he quit, but he was going to the establishment itself was evil. And he was going to stand up against the establishment. So essentially, the establishment sent assassins to kill him.
Look at our viewers just coming up with example after example after.
Lethal
Well,
Weapon,
some
yeah.
of
Well,
those are
Lethal
not
Weapon.
sci-fi, guys.
Lethal Weapon is probably the gold standard of that.
Yeah, Lethal Weapon might be the gold standard.
Beverly Hills Cop. Or we're trying to think of science fiction versions of that though.
Let's talk about the next one. The funeral. Now, in the regular movies, the funeral cliche is it might be a rainy funeral. Everyone's gathered around, and then there's always like one lone person up on the hill, like staring down at the funeral. We can't really do that in sci-fi, but in sci-fi, there's a lot of
Sometimes it's the person whose funeral it is.
Well, that's true. There's a lot of like shooting coffins off into space. There was in Guardians of the Galaxy, what's his name's Ravager funeral. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of
That was like firework.
Yeah, firework funeral. Like there's been a lot of interesting space funerals and a lot of just straight up spacing people. Like The Expanse was the all-time crown winner.
Expanse was you just went out of there a lot. Well, I mean, on space, just like on a sailing ship of old where it took months to cross an ocean, you couldn't have a dead body just rotting.
Yeah, that's true.
And same thing, you wouldn't have this dead body just rotting. Even though in modern, Star Trek, they would have some kind of stasis field, they could store them somehow. But that's kind of the Navy, the naval send off is you get flushed into the sea, or in this case out into the space, and that way you can soft land on a planet that's renewing itself and be reborn.
That's true. That's how that works. Yeah.
That's how that works.
All right, guys, fighting. The cliche fighting in Hollywood movies is, of course, the bad guys are going to be super considerate and come at you. They'll wait their turn and come at you one at a time.
That's regardless of whether it's science fiction or not.
That's all movies. Yeah, that's science fiction and regular movies.
And then you have the Jackie Chan of films where he got. The thing I loved about Jackie Chan was, aside from the fact that the fight scenes were always amazing and just incredible fun to watch, Jackie in every movie got his ass kicked. Like he'd be against 10 guys.
He physically got hurt. The man has broken every bone in his body.
Yeah, he would take his licks even in the movie. As part of the movie, though, he would always take his licks. So he was kind of like this anti-hero quite often.
Yeah. Back to that specific cliche, the one at a time cliche, the Matrix is guilty of it. They kind of wised up by the third Matrix. They're like, we better start pouring.
Yeah, there was a couple of scenes where they all pile on and he
they're pouring Agent Smith on him. But by then he was so powerful that he just was like, one pinky, and they all go. But for a while, Matrix was really guilty of that. They like to send the Agent Smith.
Well, because logically, if they all rushed the guy, he couldn't fend off 10 people at once. Nobody could. So,
okay. On the funny side, and there are funny sci-fis, the spit take. Guys, no one really actually spit takes in real life.
I did it once.
Did you really do a spit take?
Well, I was a kid and, my mom had given me a glass of milk, but the milk had curdled, had gone down. And I took a big swig of it, and it came right like all over the kitchen table. And of course, my mother was like, "What the hell are you doing?" And then I'm like, "The milk is sour." She's like, "Oh, okay, sorry."
So the spit take in a movie, because people, except for Rizzo when he drinks sour milk, don't generally spit take in real life. The spit take is just a visual, a deliberate chosen visual to show, hey, we should be surprised or shocked or find funny, whatever the line right before. Like there'll be a line and then the spit take.
It's always funny.
It's always funny. And yes, there is.
I think I've seen it, like you're drinking something and somebody says something that's really funny. So you're trying to laugh, but your mouth is full of a liquid. So you're kind of like choking. So I've done that. Like it didn't shoot across the, you're like,
Next, before I run out of time, next movie cliche, and this is a really good one. Every movie needs a montage. And Edge of Tomorrow in science fiction, I'm going to vote Edge of Tomorrow as king of the montage. Their whole first half of their movie is a bloody montage of Tom Cruise living that day.
It's an effective way to
you're either preparing, training, building.
It fills in a lot of holes that they don't have to show you a lot of detail.
Sometimes destroying, but
Yeah, but I'm just saying it moves the story along quickly without having to give you a lot of detail.
Yeah, that's true.
You see these quick. This is what's happening really quick. Okay, so now you're caught up.
Moving on.
This is what's happened. So yeah, it was just a way to save time
Yeah.
in a film, in editing, and we saw that kind of. I think they go all the way back to Battleship Potemkin. If you've never seen, that's a Russian film. It's a great foreign film.
Yeah, is that the
They've
first?
used like a lot of things have been taken from it. And that was one of the first films that they used editing in that way to move the story along, where we didn't see it as if it was a play. Okay, as if we're standing back watching a play. We started to see these things from different perspectives. One of the best copies, because there's a scene in Battleship Potemkin where there's a baby in a pram that's rolling through this, the scene where there's bad things happening. And the best copy of it was in The Untouchables, which was Brian De Palma, with and it's in the Chicago train station, and the pram is going down the stairs. It's all slow motion, and there's a gunfight going on around this, and of course at the very end they stop the thing from falling down the stairs completely. So, but yeah, it's not really a cliche. It's I don't know if it's really considered a cliche, but
it's been used.
It's definitely a tool that filmmakers use to move the plot along. And in the 80s, they always had
it is a plot.
There's always like a jazzy music that went with it as things happen.
Yeah, like Rocky.
Yeah, Rocky. What they said, there was a thing they said that Rocky,
like Rocky 3
was like when the time they got to like the third Rocky movie, it was like 40% montage.
Every movie needs
of him just working out.
They made fun of it on either South Park or.
Oh yeah, the montage has been poked fun at quite a bit, particularly the '80s montage. Like say where they put in the music and it becomes like a thing. So
all right, we're getting on 8 o'clock. I'm not going to get to all these. Let me kind of zip through. The humans save. Yeah, when the human like Avatar, where the humans come in and do stuff better than the. Yeah. Let's skip that one. The angry desk sweep. The bad guy. Oh, the bad guy has to have a British accent, guys. Otherwise, he's not the bad guy. It worked for Hans Gruber falling off the tower.
Well, that's the other trope is the bad guy has to have an epic ending.
Yeah, the bad guy needs a wicked ending.
You can't just kill him. You have to and I think Die Hard's probably one of the best examples. Of Hans Gruber falling off the Nakatomi Tower.
Yep.
Because it's that not only is it slow motion and everything like that, but it's that he knows he's lost.
Yes. Yeah.
There's that subtle moment.
He had time to think about it on the way down.
There's that subtle moment where the audience and him all know this is the end, my friend.
Another one, guys, the chase. In regular movies, the car chase. In science fiction, it could be any one of a number of different things.
Could be a spaceship.
Ever since the Star Wars trench, and that counts as a chase. I have had this working theory that all other movies with chases have a nod to that trench.
Well, unless it came before that.
Famous
car chases, you go all the way back to Bullet, French Connection. Those are hugely famous car chases. Prior, Star Wars wasn't even being made at those times. But if you want some of the good stuff, though, a lot of the car chases now are put together in ways that it's really hard to see what's going on, they're CGI and they've gone crazy with cars. You look at the Fast and Furious stuff is like gone completely off the realm of reality. One of the better car chase movies was Baby Driver, which came out about 5
years. Yes, and I never saw that. Now I want
to. It's actually not a bad movie, but the car stunts in it are more realistic, and it's almost like
because none of them were CGI. They were in camera, like they were a car actually doing it.
Yeah, they were all practical effects.
It was real.
Yeah. So, like you ever see sometimes they do what was that? The rally car driver that just died, Ken Block. He just actually died, but the guy was like an artist with a car. If you ever want to see what that guy could do, go on YouTube, Google Ken Block, and watch what he does with a car and with a rally car. And I'm not talking a race. He's like going around like an old abandoned airport and just driving this car like you'd swear it was a toy, like a kid playing in his backyard or something. So, that kind of thing to me is what I love when I see a car chase like that, where you get to see that kind of more practical effect, where cars aren't flying, doing crazy. People
Yeah.
aren't like literally shooting as the car flips over another
Yeah.
car and kind
Yeah.
of crazy stuff.
Like the Fast and Furious
They've
has
taken it,
it's out of
they've
control.
taken it to the point
Yeah.
of it's
They're
like
like,
some kind
physics?
of weird.
What's physics? We
Yeah,
don't
there's
need no
no reality
gravity.
to it.
Let's just do this. They're doing
Yeah,
awesome.
catching people in midair as the car flies. Yeah, just
All right, guys. So we already did the ticking
we
time.
didn't talk
The
about
bomb
the
ticks
superhero
down
landing
one.
either. We're going
We
to talk
did.
about superhero landings.
So, yeah, let's talk about superhero landings. Why? Because that went with the girls running in high heels. Why does the men just kind of land and bend their knees and cushion it? The girls have to go down.
Not always. The men do the same thing sometimes. They'll do
maybe they do. With the one fist down, like boom.
I just, like I said, I think the best example of poking fun of that was in Deadpool at the end when the baddie, she jumps off the top of this structure that's whatever.
Yeah, it was the.
And he's going, you're gonna do a superhero. He's gonna do the superhero land. He's gonna do that. Boom.
She does it.
Doesn't that hurt?
They made fun of it. Florence Pugh made fun of it in the Black Widow movie too. When Scarlet, she actually was like, the character was to the Black Widow like, why do you always do that? Why do you always land like that? It doesn't make sense. It's not practical.
Crystal Rose, I think you're talking about Duel, the car with Dennis Weaver. I think that was the name of the film.
Was that Duel?
That was a Spielberg film when he's chased by the truck. That's a great film. If you've never seen it, you got to go watch Duel. Made for TV. Yeah, Dennis Weaver in the dark. So,
and don't forget, guys, these aliens traveled millions and millions and millions of miles just to loot
just because our planet is
whatever we have.
special. We have water, we have air. Take your pick. Usually it's one of the two that they want.
Dirt, you need water, you need air.
They need our water. They always want water. Meanwhile, there's giant chunks of ice floating around the universe, but I guess it's easier to come subjugate us. That's what the V people were after, right? Weren't they stealing our water?
Yeah, were they?
I don't know. I remember seeing something. They were pumping water out of the ocean.
Yeah, maybe they were pumping water, but I thought they were going to eat us too. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
We're just a bonus. We were the Independence Day. They were also supposedly going to wrap.
Well, that was all resources. Yeah, they were
resources.
Just everything. They were just going to.
They didn't say which resources, but
no. So anyway, it's after 8 o'clock. We could keep talking, but I don't want
to keep going. Have we given you all enough to write your own script? There's a strike. Don't write it now.
Well, they could write. They're not part of the union. Just can't sell it.
They just can't sell it.
We'll have AI write something.
Love AI. Use all the cliches, AI, and just off you go.
I'm sure it will. We didn't even talk about the Wilhelm scream.
And we didn't talk about the greatest cliche of all, the Wilhelm scream. Tell us about the and
that was from a movie in the 1950s, and I forget the name of the film. And there was a scene where these guys are walking through a river in the jungle, and an alligator comes and grabs the one guy, and he does this scream, this scream, and it got used, and it got reused in a few other films. But then Hollywood started sticking it in there, and about in the 70s, I think it became really a joke, where they were sticking it in everywhere. Star Wars, I think, was really the one that's kicked it off. When we started hearing it in Star Wars, we see it. I think they hear it the first time in Star Wars during the scene when Luke and Leia are going to swing across the giant chasm.
Yeah,
why they would have a giant chasm on a space station, but whatever.
Giant
and the one stormtrooper she shoots and he falls into the chasm. He goes, "Ah!" That's the Wilhelm scream. Then we see it again in Jedi, with when one of the guys falls into the pit. It might have been. It might have been.
It might have been Boba Fett.
Lando that said it, but what?
It might have been Boba Fett doing the Wilhelm scream into the pit.
No, I don't think it was. I don't think it was him. It was It was one of the other. It was one of the other guys on the skiff, where it was Lando himself that did it when he fell. But anyway, once you hear it, you'll hear it.
It's very distinct.
They use it all the time now. It's almost become too much because they like to stick it in there. So it's this one scream from the 50s. It's still on the books. And they use it all the time.
It was ADR'd because we have the sound footage, not sound footage. We have the sound recording of this actor doing a number of screams and the director telling him, do it this way, do it that way.
So, but it was the first in this one film. Like I said, it was this guy getting eaten by an alligator in a river.
And and then the character was Wilhelm. The character that got shot in the leg.
Yeah, the character was that was the first time it was
Wilhelm.
right. The second time, the guy it was named after was in a Western, and he gets shot by an arrow, and they
gets shot by an arrow, and
that's how it got named the Wilhelm scream, because that character's name was Wilhelm. If I remember right, or was the actor? Was the character?
No, the character's name was Wilhelm.
Wilhelm, and that's how it got Wilhelm scream. But it wasn't the first time it was used. It was actually this other 1950s film with the cowboys walking in this river, and the alligator came, and I think they were like cowboys or something. But anyway, you can look it up if you're really that interested. But the Wilhelm scream, which is why I have my name, because once you guys hear it and you know what you're listening for, you'll hear it.
I'm Smurfette because the other cliche was often there's only one female.
Only one token women. And we still see it. We still see it. We still see it. Look at Black Widow. All the other Avengers men. Guardians of the Galaxy. We have one. Now there's two.
Gamora. At least now she has Nebula.
Yeah, Gamora. But before it was just
Gamora.
So it's true. It's kind of a silly, but it's today's standards.
You know what, Smurfette? We just did it. The final countdown.
Right, there was
and
the
one female.
There's one token woman stuck in there.
The senator's secretary, or whatever she was.
Yep. So anyway, all right. What does Phil got going on?
Phil. So unfortunately, we were not able to be on Phil's show last week. We think we're gonna be on it.
Yeah, there was a hiccup last week, so maybe this week I think it's just going to be me, you, Phil,
and maybe Paul Levinson
and Paul Levinson. Yeah, I think Roy couldn't do it, and Colleen Brennan couldn't do it. So it'll be a smaller group.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, I'm reading his little promo now, and we will be on. We're going to be on at 9 p.m. Friday night.
I don't know why we can't pre-record. Phil, why can't we pre-record?
And then be in bed at 9 p.m.
Just air at night, in the middle of the night.
And Roy, I believe, is off. I cannot find.
I think Roy is off. If anybody knows different, let us know. I think I saw
not sure
something.
What he's doing.
I think I saw something that Roy is off doing. It's his
anniversary.
It's his wedding anniversary.
It's wedding anniversary. Friday. All right. There's
congratulations.
Father's Day. Yeah.
Married another year.
Rumors that Fez may be reviving Fez Talks, so we'll see if he.
Well, he's on here. There he is. Fez right there. So
you gonna revive Fez Talks because we miss it.
Yes.
And what do we got going on next week?
2. I don't know.
Neither do I. You know what?
I never know until like Sunday night, and I start thinking about it. Go, we got to come up with something for the show.
I like when I know ahead of time, because sometimes I like to watch the movie on Sunday night.
I know, I do too. I'm that way, but what do you guys want us to do? Any?
Should we go back to movies? You want us to do some kids movies? You want a little Never-Ending Story or something like that? You want to do Saturday morning cartoons and just revel in the glory that was.
Do that. You guys want us to do Saturday morning, 70s Saturday morning stuff?
It can be
both
sci-fi
or
non-sci-fi.
It'll be a montage.
It'll be a montage. It'll be all Saturday morning.
A cornucopia of Saturday mornings
that we loved as kids. When you were a little kid and you could get up and your parents stayed in bed, you could get your own cereal and you could sit there and eat and watch TV.
And then my mother would be screaming, "It's a nice day. Go outside. Go out of that basement." So, all right, we'll do that. We'll watch as many TV kids.
I hear excited people for Saturday morning cartoons. It might be
cartoon / live action.
Yeah, everything that was on in the 70s and maybe early 80s, but mostly 70s.
Right, I'm sure. So come up with throw us some ideas of shows that we probably forgot about.
Chris likes it.
Yeah. So, all right, guys. All right. Well, on that note, listen to us tomorrow night if you want. WSB. You could always ask your
Friday night
voice activated device, because if I say it, it's gonna light up on me and want to know. So you can just listen to WSB. Or they're also online. You could look. We should probably put the link up.
Yes.
Send it to me and I'll find it and put it up so you can listen always on their webpage as well. So anyway, should be good. We're going to talk about season 3 Picard. So it should be a good show. Yes. So on that note, good night. Live long and prosper. Thanks everybody for joining us, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.